The recording. Hey everyone. How
Hello,
are you?
hello.
Mark, Greg, Jason, thank you all.
Hello.
Thank you all for joining me today. We were supposed to do a live and, you know, me and my technical skills and wasn't prepared. So unfortunately it has to be recorded. But I guess it wasn't meant to be. The energy's a bit hectic today, aren't they, guys? Mark, how are you doing?
Yeah, me, I'm good. I'm very good. I've just cooked the kids' dinner and hidden all the naked bars and locked all the doors, so it's all good.
And Greg, how was your day today?
It was a little hectic. We're about to get slammed here in the Northeast by Winter Storm Flynn. No coincidence with that. About 18 plus inches supposedly coming our way. So, you know, the usual people losing their shit.
Yeah, well, it's just very intense at the moment, and all sorts. And so many people have been excited about this chat today. And I was speaking to Jason yesterday, and Jason, I recognize you from somewhere. I don't admittedly, I haven't seen that many of his videos, but there was like this instant recognition, and the ones that I have seen, I mean, he completely blew my mind, and I was like, I have to speak to him. So Jason, thank you so much for being here with us today. I really, really appreciate you and for everything that you're doing right now. So thank you.
Thank you for having me, and thank all of you for everything that everybody else is doing, because if we weren't all doing it, then, you know, it's no good for one to do it. So that's why I just, you know, I go by the whole mantra of we before me. I mean, this would have never happened if it wasn't all of us with our energies coming in and, you know, defeating this necessary evil, because it's a big one. This is the battle of all battles.
Yep.
It's big.
Yeah, definitely. And before we start, Jason, I actually want to show everyone, for the purpose of this discussion, just how extensive your research is. And when I say, like, Greg, you and I do what we do, Jason has been doing this for the last 8-9 months. Am I right, Jason? 9 months?
No, 3 years. Since December of 2017.
But more acutely, though, this year has just been like crazy, right, for you?
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
And there's more.
I mean,
I had to get more yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. So look at all of that.
It's out of control.
So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because this is the first time you're on my channel, just for the purpose of people who are new that perhaps haven't heard about you. You've got a phenomenal story, and I'd just like you to share that with our viewers today to start off with. And we've got some questions later on. All
right. Well, I was an iron worker for 21 years, and I got hurt on the job in July 2017, I figure. And an electric man lift, and it kind of crushed my hand. And after that, you know, the whole workman's comp and everything just started spiraling downward. Well, then I ended up, my parents, you know, that lived actually down the street from me, I went ahead and, you know, started staying with them because my dad started getting sick, and, you know, there's no way of, you know, having everything and trying to take care of two things with my mom and my dad. So I just went ahead and started taking, you know, over the duties with them. Then my dad ended up getting diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And that was the same time that we both went to the hospital because I was having these migraines. Needless to say, I didn't know that they were actually uploads. And the next day it was all clarity. It was like, it's a clarity that you can't even think about explaining, because everything just starts like popping up, and just like the whole synchronicities, it's insane. So then, you know, we just kept on doing this, and, you know, never been on YouTube or anything, just wasn't a big podcast guy. And a few months ago, that's when, you know, they, you know, I was asked to be on one. I'm like, well, why not? So, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are.
Yeah, I'm more excited to just be a part of this, just to know that everyone else that have been on this journey and all their stories and everything, that it's like everybody, we've all done this before.
Yes.
And what we found is that we're actually, when they say that all this for a LARP, we are actually the LARP. We're the live action role players. Because what we're playing in is we're playing in an alternate reality game between timelines to defeat evil. And then the video game that we're actually in, we're actually playing, it's a live video game. It's called Deus Ex. And Elon Musk has actually mentioned it. It's DEUSEX. And it actually goes to the extreme that our government deployed a virus, and it started killing people. And I'm like, wow, couldn't even write this if you tried, but they did. So it's very interesting on what is happening in the world, what has happened, what is happening again. And all we can say is we're just sitting here enjoying the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I love how you say that. You say we a lot, and I really appreciate you for that, because Greg and Mark both have some phenomenal stories individually themselves. Perhaps, Greg, you might want to share a little bit with us, because this unity that we have, we've all kind of migrated towards each other. We all have some individual stories, but when I speak to people like yourself, I've heard Mark's story, Greg's story, the synchronicities are so dope. Like, it's out of this world, and how we've all kind of come together, and we've all got something. So that ego, this, like how you emphasize, it's we, it's us. We're all in this together, and I feel great that we're all a part of this journey. So Greg, you've got a wonderful story as well. If you just briefly share that with us.
Yeah. Well, my journey began long ago when I was young, and it started with a lot of trips to the doctors and psychiatrists and behavioral specialists and every other specialist you could possibly fathom, due to the fact that I wasn't lining up, so to speak, with other children. And that was the big deal back then in the 80s and 90s, is that, kids had to excel in certain things. And if they weren't excelling in certain things and they were decelling in other things, so to speak, it was an issue, and it had to be dealt with. And it was initially dealt with all different types of exotic therapies. And then eventually, if the exotic therapies didn't work, it was dealt with toxins, essentially drugs, poisons. So I had the essential veil placed over me from a very young age, and had many different, I know personally what it feels like to be under the spell of mind control and black magic, to be in a room with 6 different specialists, and they all tell you different things, but they all serve one purpose. And that one purpose is that you're diseased, you're flawed, you cannot function without these drugs, and you cannot re-enter society without these drugs. You need these drugs. And the more and more that you are told these things, you start to believe it. And that's where the mind control and the black magic, starts playing its role. And the greatest tragedy of all that is, for many who are still experiencing this right now, is that you essentially become addicted to that reality. You're not just a believer, you're essentially an addict to that reality. And then you become an addict to other things to supplement or to suppress rather the pain and the sorrow that you have and the confusion that you have from that reality, such as, alcohol, certain types of foods and other things like that. So my life was essentially a very bumpy one, up until about the age of 25, when I met a holistic psychiatrist who, to make a long story short, amazingly and holistically and purely and divinely got me off those drugs, and essentially cleaned out my body and set me free. Now I still had the alcohol to deal with, which took, another 5 years. But essentially, that was the hell that I had to, endure to get to where I am now. Essentially, once the alcohol was kicked, everything just
started to change.
blossomed. Yeah, everything just started to change very, very rapidly. and obviously, you know, living a more down to earth, purely holistic lifestyle, away from big pharma, connected to Mother Earth, purely, you know, vegetarian, plant-based, and following a, you know, herbal protocol on a daily basis, you know, putting, you know, life-giving herbs into my body that resonate with not just me, but my soul, and that serve my best function and purpose. That is just when everything just started blossoming and blossoming. And then, of course, it kicked into absolute warp speed this year with the release of this false pandemic.
Pandemic.
Yeah, pandemic. Yeah. And just the rise of the phoenix within, essentially. You know, it started with the fall of the cabal, and then it just spun from there. And here I am today.
Yeah.
Never thought I would ever be here, but as Jason so eloquently said, you know, we've done this before. And the more and more I experience this and feel this on an energetic level, from top to bottom, I feel like the energies are just so not oddly familiar in a bad way, but just very, very familiar. Like, I have done this before. I have wielded this sword and held this shield before. You know, the energies with me and you, Alpa, are just so familiar.
Yeah.
You know, the energies.
Yeah.
You know, and the synchronicities, you know, that we've been having as of recently. It's
and
just
beautiful.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just all coming together. It's an amazing, amazing thing. It's beyond words. It's beyond description.
Yeah, if we have the eyes to see it. And also with Mark and I have some amazing synchronicities. And when I spoke to Mark the first time, I'll let him share his story in a second. But that sense of familiarity, like I've had. So when this was orchestrated, first of all, it's been organized within 24 hours, right? Like, not even that long, to be fair. I had no idea what was going to happen. I said to you originally, Jason, let's do it on Friday so I could catch up with all your work, so I could be on point with everything that you've been saying. But sometimes the serendipity of things and how they happen, they end up flowing a lot better, and the gnosis is better. So, and then I was speaking to Mark, and I just said, you need to be on this as well. So for whatever divine connection this is all supposed to be, we're here. And, you know, Mark, please share your story with us briefly, and then we'll get stuck straight into what's going on now, because there's lots to talk about today.
Crazy.
But yeah, I just smiled then, because I've been putting together Charlie Ward's biography, and I got your quote, Jason, "We before me," and I really enjoyed putting that in, because everybody else's was loads of paragraphs and just 3 words. Yeah. I really enjoyed that.
It's perfect.
It's great to meet you. Well, my first memory ever is demons coming in and trying to recruit me. That's the best way I can put it. They had long conversations with me. They said, "Look, we know who you are. We want you to work for us." And I was about 3 or 4 years old. That went on for quite a long time. There's sort of a few weird things there, a few out-of-body experiences, nearly died a couple of times, and ended up joining the RAF to be a pilot. And when I was in there, I saw some things. The government were doing things that they said they weren't doing. And this was in the late 80s. So this was, I was the kind of kid who used to come home and salute the TV when the national anthem came on. I was that brainwashed. And I grew up in a village where there was a religious cult. The head of that cult abused my dad, and one of the people in there abused me when I was about 12. So I had this very, I thought everything was happy, but it was, everything blew up. My dad died when I was 17. I had to turn his life support machine off, and which they wouldn't let you legally do now. And so I resigned from the Air Force, and then I just went on this journey. Well, I'm still on it, which is like, who am I working for? Who runs the world? This is back in 89, 90. I didn't really know anything then, but then I was working as a stand-up comic, and I was in a restaurant in Manchester, and this Canadian comedian called Alan Park told me about the protocols of the Elders of Zion, which I'd never heard of. And then asked me a question. He said, "What's on the front of the $1 bill?" And I went, and I'd spent a year in the States, and I didn't know. I said, I don't know, is it George Washington? And then he pointed out the pyramid, and I was like, why is there an Egyptian pyramid on the American dollar bill? I couldn't understand it. Then I read the protocols. Then I crapped my pants, Then Y2K happened, and then 9/11 happened. In 9/11, one of my friends died, was there in the towers from school. And then me and his brother, who are still best friends from school, spent a long period of time trying to unpick 9/11 from a family member's perspective that ended up being invited to go to Guantanamo Bay in 2016. He actually went. That's another story. I won't go into all of that now. But I've spent the last 21 years reading every book I can get hold of, pre-internet, connecting with everybody that's ever produced anything online. And I was writing about this stuff on Facebook 8, 9, 10 years ago. Lost a lot of friends. I was talking about satanic ritual abuse, the Cabal, the Illuminati, and all of that, and people thought I was absolutely nuts. But then what you guys just said happened to me this year. It was like a big rope inside me pulled me towards and said, "You've got to go on YouTube." And I was like, "Really?" And I couldn't not do it. And somehow I ended up on the Charlie Ward show. And then suddenly poetry started pouring out of me. And I swear to God, I know where they come from, but they're not, they're just coming out. And I'm trying to, and here I am. That's the shortest version I can do.
Thank you, Mark, for that. And here we all are on this amazing journey. And right now, Jason, we are in, I read one of your posts in the 10 days of darkness. And there's been so many questions about that right now. So with everything that's going on with the Texas case being thrown out of the Supreme Court, now everything's going to the military. We're in the 10 days of darkness. I mean, what's going on, Jason, and where are we?
Well, if you notice, everything happens on Tuesdays. Like today being Tuesday. What we did, it was back in, I believe, like late July. We made a calendar. You know that they had a countdown in one of the Q posts about the weeks and all that. They had 10 weeks. Well, we started making a countdown because we noticed that the Tuesday, it started lining up with everything. It lighted up with personal items like sister's birthday, my mom, my nephew's birthday, and and the numbers just were all there. And just like, well, synchronicities. Well, let's take a look at this. But then when it got to 11/3, then you think that it's over, but everything flips. Then you look at the deltas, which delta is 4, because D equals 4, and that's if you're traveling in one linear way of time. But since we're jumping timelines, you split it into 2, so you have 2 years, 2 years. Well, when you go to 11/3 and you jump 2 weeks ahead, right? You have your 11/17. There's your Q. There's your there's your confirmation. Then you go back up to 11/3. You jump 4. You end up at 12/1. It's like, okay, this is going to get real interesting. Because then when you jump another delta, because if you look at 11/11, like you use the time, like hours, minutes.
Yeah.
Well, you could use weeks, days, right? Because it's all two modes of time, but it's under the same linear way of time. So you have weeks, and then you go forward 4 days. There's your D5. It's December. It's December 5th. There are a lot of things in history that happened on December 1st and December 5th. A lot. I have a huge list of them around here, but one of them happened to be in 2019, December 1st. It was when the first known COVID-19 case appeared.
Yeah. Now,
we have an issue with this because on 124 or 127 of 2019, Joe Connolly, a Democrat from Connecticut, came to the House of Representatives with a bill. It was about the Cadillac tax in the Obamacare. Problem is that it actually included what was known as the CARES Act, which was the CARES Act was about the COVID-19. So when they were going through this, they wrote this big write-up on it, and then they voted on it. And it actually passed on July 17th, 2019. Well, if they knew about it then, that this was coming in July 17th, 2019, then what happened there? Then how did it get here?
Yeah.
So that's when you have to look at Pelosi, Feinstein, and the whole state of California to boot. Because the state of California isn't really the state of California. they sold out to the Chinese and to the communists, because it all began with the communists in 1942, when Hitler had one of his top guys come over and infiltrate the Pentagon and the intelligence. And then that's when they created the Office of Strategic Services, the OSS. OSS. So from there, they turned that into the CIA, which CIA stands for Communism in America. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to make sure that America, because America's like the biggest domino. Once America falls, you know, because we are under a constitutional republic. We're not a democracy. I don't care what anybody says. I hate it when they say democratic. It's not a democracy. Democracy is bad. Democracy plus socialism equals communism. Yeah. And where communism came from was from the Jesuits. The Jesuits created communism back in the late 1600s, early 1700s in Paraguay. What was Uruguay? It was one of the two in South America, where they totally just annihilated their whole, all the people there. They just annihilated them. And that's where you have the St. Ignatius Loyola. He ended up being the founder of the Jesuits. And then you have the Black Pope, which they refer to as the Supreme General. And the Jesuits, they call the Catholic Assassins. They're the ones that run the CIA in Switzerland. And the CIA headquarters in Switzerland is 19,500 feet underwater in Lake Geneva on the border of France and Switzerland. Now, there's something funny that I found just recently, and I had no idea about Germany. On January 1st, 2010, the Holy Roman Empire actually came back. Yeah, you're telling me. And the thing is that it was dominantly paid for by Germany, but it was actually run by France. So now we know where Macron stands. We know where Merkel stands, because Merkel is actually Adolf Hitler's daughter, and her sister is actually Barack Obama's mother.
Yeah, I heard this. So Barack Obama's aunt, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's why when they're together, you know, she's always like, "Oh, hey, I'm like, what's going on here? It's creepers." So when you realize that, I was shocked, because I just found that out maybe about 4 or 5 days ago, because the magazine that I was drawn to, it was called the Trumpet Magazine. It was out of Philadelphia, and they have all these magazines where it started in, I want to say 97, 98, and they started making these magazines. Well, when we talk about like the Holy Roman Empire, and like Rome never fell, they just moved. And that's where the whole, you have Israel, Judea, because they were kingdoms way back in the day, and they call it the United Kingdom of Judea and Israel. Well, where's the United Kingdom now? And that's the thing. It's like, it's the whole monarchy of the UK, which is gone. It was actually dissolved July 13th of 2018, because
that makes
when
sense.
President Trump came over, and they went through that whole walk with the Queen, right? And he walked in front of her. Like when he got out, you know, the Queen stood in the middle, and then Trump and Melania stand on each end. Then when they went and walked, he was inspecting the troops. You know, he was with the man with the sword, and then he walked down and he stepped in front of the Queen. Yeah. You know, then he started inspecting the troops, and when they walked around, then he went in the middle. Yeah, and then Queen went on the end.
Very symbolic that was, you know.
Very symbolic.
That the UK had capitulated at that point. So we've spoken about this quite a few times, but yeah, very symbolic of how Trump maneuvered post his the presidency. So yeah, definitely.
And he had to, because everywhere else, if you notice, he had the sword dance from Saudi Arabia, the red carpet treatment from Japan. But the biggest one was the dinner in the Forbidden City with the Chinese.
Yeah.
Because in China, you have the good Chinese, which are the Royal Dragon families, yeah, then you have the, you know, communists. But that's when you realize, like, well, communism, you know, they went from Russia, from the whole Bolshevik Revolution, and then they went straight into China. Because when Russia was reestablished as, you know, non-communism, they kind of, like, you know, pushed themselves into the People's Republic of China back in '49. And the weird thing is that Jimmy Carter, on December 15th, 1978, 79, got that date right here. Okay. It was one more, 78. And he recognized the People's Republic of China, but then he turned his back on Taiwan. Now, Taiwan was a free part, so he recognized the communists. So it's like when we look at where it went wrong in America with the communism, it's like right there. Because during that same time, that's when Dianne Feinstein, she became the mayor of San Francisco. And she had this whole China deal where she called Shanghai and San Francisco sister cities. And I'm like, wow, these guys sold out quick to the communists. Then when you see everything, like all the schools in California, like Stanford has a whole China program. Like everything has to do with the universities at the university level, because that's the problem we're having now with Antifa, with Black Lives Matter, all this. None of it has to do with any of, like, Black Lives even mattering, because if it did matter, then why don't you just get rid of Planned Parenthood and abortion of all that, because that's what they prey on. That's the whole reason why they created Planned Parenthood. You know, I mean, the depth that these people went to
horrendous. It's horrendous.
Yeah. And we were that close. I mean, you think about it, like Bernie Sanders and all them. I mean, that close into losing it forever.
Yeah.
Because you'll see them talk about, oh, democratic socialist. It's like, that's a communist.
Yeah.
It's like, don't sugarcoat this, Mockingbird. You know, it's like, we know where you guys come from, and that's all CIA assets too. I mean, there are so many communists here that are, like, pushing the buttons and pushing us to the edge, but it's patriots from across the world that are helping. Because when he got all these signatures from all the countries, it effectively put every country under the U.S. Constitution. So now every person's free, and, you know, and that's the best part about it, is because when you have something where every person is free, and you cannot, you know, this whole mass vaccination, all that mandatory vaccination is unconstitutional. That's why it's never going to hit anybody. It's going to protect everybody in Africa. It's going to protect everybody in Indonesia. It's like, can't touch any of them, because who runs the world? Trump does.
What are your thoughts on the vaccines right now then, Jason? Because on that point, just briefly, if you just give us your views on what's going on, especially in the UK, like Marcus, you know that there's this huge worry from people that there's the bad vaccines that have already got out there, and even in the States and everywhere in the world. So there's a lot of fear porn going on. Is there a batch of bad vaccines that have been circulated in the world, do you think?
Well, when you have all these companies like him with Operation Warp Speed, right? Yeah. And when he came up with that, he pretty much, like, pushed all big pharma, like, well, if I can get this done in a couple months, it's like, you guys should be able to do it, you know? So they're like, oh, we got to do this so we can make some money, because he fronted them money. You know, was it $2 billion? And that was just a Pfizer. But when he talked in a speech, he said Pfizer. And the thing is, like, now with them having to produce a vaccine, they don't think he's going to check it. Well, they really overplayed their hand now, because now he could bury the media, he could bury big pharma, all under this whole COVID-19, because it's all a joke. Yeah. They murder these people in these nursing homes for the C'est La Vie Trust, which whenever someone dies, in the birth certificate, they cash it in, and the hospital or nursing home gets $1 million for it, because we are a trade commodity on the stock exchange. I said, wow.
Yeah. We're
That's nice to
cattle,
know.
sold as cattle.
That's it.
Debt slaves.
Oh, we are. And
Yeah.
and a lot of it just stems from the Jews, from the Hebrews. And that's like right now, there's helicopters going overhead, you know, going right to Chicago. Just, they've been doing that for the past week and a half now.
Yeah.
So they're doing all the arrests. I mean, they did a lot of the arrests already, like all the ones with like Pelosi and all them. What they did was they just exchanged them with clones. It's a catch and release.
Yes, clones. I want to talk about clones a bit later. Yeah. But guys, if you have anything questions for Jason, please do interject. You know, as we're going on. But can
I bring something up?
Yeah, sure.
Jason, when you I love your attention to detail, and I tend to have a broader stroke. And when you talk about communism coming into America, I read that as a very long-term Satanism, right? So when I think it's clear, I think it's important to say on these sorts of chats that when we're talking about the Chinese, we're not talking about the Chinese people.
No.
And you know, the countries to these guys don't exist. It's just a chessboard to them. We have the identities with the countries. We're the people, right? But when the Chinese communists, etc., that's not the Chinese. That is these satanic forces that go way back in time, probably back to Anunnakis and stuff. I'd love to touch on that with you, Jason.
Yeah, definitely.
And you, Greg. And it's this long-term plan. There's this huge, like when I mentioned the protocols earlier, I said the protocols of the Elders of Zion, but it's actually, you know, according to Janet Osbard's research, which I think is really good, goes back hundreds and hundreds of years. And these protocols were placed there to create, the whole of history has been manufactured and organized in order to do this. And America was set up to be the fatted calf to bring down because they have this very long-term view, which makes me believe that the things behind all of this don't live for 70 years. They live for hundreds, thousands, millions of years. And that brings you down to actual real demons and entities and creatures that are not of this, well, they're not human. And I'd love to go deeper into that stuff from you guys today.
Yeah. Greg?
Yeah, it's again reiterating Mark's point. You know, when we talk about communism in the Chinese, you know, we're not talking about the Chinese people. We're talking about the demonic evil that is behind all that is running and manipulating and controlling these countries, because it's absolutely right. There's no countries to them. It's just you know, pieces on a chessboard. You know, I myself have a lovely sister-in-law who's Mandarin Chinese, and she's a wonderful human being. I love her to death. So it's not the Chinese people that is the issue. And it's these demonic entities, this idea of communism that's behind it, that runs the chessboard. That is the issue. And yeah, and it's been going on for so long now, and it had to start somewhere. So the question is how far back does this go, and who started it? And if it started long ago, that means it evolved and evolved and evolved, and the people that started it evolved with it. So in total agreement that this has been around for a lot longer than we realize, and the people that are behind it have been living a lot longer than we realize to keep it going. Yeah. There's just no way. There's no way that it could be any other way. And this is not simply just passing the torch to someone else to keep it going. These ideas are evolving, but they're evolving with similar consistencies to be you know, passed down to different generations. These you know, diabolical schemes have, you know, very similar and equal redundancies. You know, it seems like the same thing over and over again, just becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's definitely the same entities behind them, you know, living for, you know, hundreds, if not thousands of years, you know, to keep this going. And going back to the vaccine, Jason, and I talked to you, Alpa, about this yesterday, that my view of the vaccine is that it's a, and I'll pass this to Jason too, is that it's a three-headed serpent, essentially. That the first head is that there is a poison that whatever remaining demons are still out there have, and that they, and we all know that when the devil wants you, he doesn't get you by the balls, he gets you by the soul. And that these people, these, demonic energies, they want to take as many people as they can with them. So with some of them still running around, they are, either getting people to willingly take this toxin, or they are actually going to be for crisis actors, whatnot, or they are forcing people, whoever they can get a hold of, to take these vaccines. The second head of that, serpent is that there is no vaccine, that essentially it's a placebo. I've been told in my downloads and my meditations, and I've seen in my dreams and visions, that it's essentially saline, just water and sodium, and that the worst thing it can give you is gas. So no worries there. And then the third head of that serpent is essentially what the vaccine has always been, and that's hydroxychloroquine or Regeneron or another, type of therapeutic. I've heard other things that, there is a vaccine behind the scenes that's going to, alleviate all the other issues from the vaccine. But I think I'll, wait on that one and to see if that rolls out. I truly do believe that there are therapeutics out there that we can take other than an injection that can heal all our issues or reverse our issues over time. So I'll throw that to Jason and see what his thoughts are on that.
Yeah, because I totally agree with you with the with how long they've been here, and the whole that it's not the Chinese people at all. And this is where it's going to get really crazy really quick, because we think we know where it started. And it all started with the Markabians. Now, the Markabian, what happened back in the 1940s, 1930s, 1940s, it was like early 1940s, there was a man by the name of L. Ron Hubbard that was in the Navy, and he was tasked for a special assignment, and that was MK Ultra. So when he was he was studying the human mind, the human brain, and all, how to manipulate it. He actually taught himself how to audit himself and go back in the lifetimes, and go back into lifetimes that he's lived many times, and all of his conversations, all of his, everybody he knew back then. It was all there. It was all, it was almost like he was saying it today. Well, when he decided that, the MK Ultra, they were going to use it for evil, because they wanted him to be a top psychiatrist there. And that's why when they say the key therapist, pretty much a psychiatrist, he's like, I can't do this. So when he left, he wrote a book. He wrote Dianetics. And what it is that it's the modern science of mental health. Wow. Modern science, mental, and post 1,000, health. So when he started teaching all these people on how to audit themselves, because there were a bunch of Scientologists, and everybody thinks of it like Scientologists, oh, they're a bunch of quacks. They think this alien runs the world and all this. Is like, oh boy, this is going to be really bad for them. So the reason behind it is that when he taught all these people how to do it, they all came to the same conclusion. All their memories stopped at Markab when the Markabians were here. And what happened? That's when they found out with the Markabians that they came here. Who knows how long ago? There was no time frame on it, but they had to have a group here that would. So they couldn't be slaves. They couldn't be known as slaves. So if they had a group here that actually thought higher of them than what they really were, then they were allowed to stay. Well, that group ended up being the Hebrews. So when the Hebrews said this, they're like, hey, we'll go ahead and run it now, but then we're just going to pass off the torch. So no problem. They started all this evil, all these evil forces, all these evil entities, because they were evil humanoids. They were evil, dark evil. You could even go as far as reptilian shapeshifting evil. And when they took over all the governments, they took over everybody in power, and they made sure that everybody in power, kept in check, that there wasn't anybody that was going to defy them.
This infiltrated every corner of society, right? Every institution, every establishment, and every fraternity. Yeah,
exactly. And the infiltration over invasion, it stems from the whole Anunnaki as well, because that's where we're actually from. The Anunnaki actually created us. They created our meat suit from clay. Wow. I mean, technically it was crazy, but they created out of clay. And when they have the Enki and Lil, the whole Ninurta, Apsu, I mean, all that was real, because it's the Babylonian epic of creation. It's called Enuma Elish. All of the Bibles, all of the everything that has been created, everything stems from that writing. What they've done is they've gone through the same stories in all of them, but they just changed the names. They'll say that's all they've done is just change the names, because they even have like the whole deluge, the great flood, how they wanted to drown all the humans. That's why they had the whole great flood, Noah, because the fallen, the Anunnaki as well, they came here and they had sex with they were the Homo erectus, which are the common cavemen. Problem is that they ended up being the Nephilim, ones with 6 fingers. And the Nephilim were still alive today. I mean, that's why they're in Afghanistan, because there were giants of Kandahar. There were giants still in those caves from all the way back then. I mean, the lifespan on some of these, I mean, you're talking 50, 60,000 years. I mean, Thoth was 50,000 years, and that's how long he ruled. I mean, it's amazing how long, that some of these entities and these beings, age. But we ourselves are biologically immortal entities. And when we found that out, we have a file on it from, it was like a top secret file and all that from, Majestic, Triune, all these top secret things. And that's why they came up with the Human Genome Project. That's why they're still hot and heavy into our DNA, like all the blood and everything, but the DNA mainly, because they had to find these 5 markers. And the markers were going to be the ones that would have completed, 250,000 gene strand of DNA that they were going to use so that they can ascend, because they can't move from here. They're pretty much done. They can't go up into 4D with us. Right. They could use portals and everything, but they can't go with us. Like, we're going this whole sky event and everything in this event. I mean, it's way bigger than people realize. It's like we get to actually do something that nobody or no other entity has ever done before in the history of the cosmos.
Yeah, that's
21st. Yeah,
21st. Yeah, the 21st. This where Saturn and Jupiter align, and that hasn't been for like, what is it? It's over 800 years. Am I right, Jason?
I think it's 866 years, if I'm not mistaken. Something around
There's so many different variants.
It's something like this.
So yeah, it would be nice if we can touch on that and explain what exactly this means. What are we expecting? What's happening? There's so much online about this, but I think it'd be lovely to hear your perspective, Jason, because more from a sort of a technical perspective. Yeah,
because I mean, I actually have the drawings and all that from the whole galactic. Because remember they were talking about the galactic shift last year, and everybody's like, "Oh, what's happening on 12/21? It's like nothing happened." It's like, yeah, and the thing is, like, they're not going to tell you exactly when this is going to happen. I mean, it's going to happen in the winter solstice, because the ending, when we ascend, it's going to be on the summer equinox, the summer solstice, which is on June 21st, I believe, guys. I think it is.
Yeah,
and that'll happen in 2023, I believe, because everything goes by the degrees. Because the 33rd degree, and you have the next master number, which is the 45th degree. Now, and this is the whole math behind the years, and when we go to 3 to 4D. Now, if you have 2019, right, when you go to 4D, it's not 2019 anymore. What you do is you take the last two, when the last two numbers are a group of numbers, and there's a 0, and the first number is a solid number like 2, and you have a 0, and you have a group of numbers, which is 19 after it. What you do is you multiply the 19 times the 2, and it gives you the 4D year, which is 38. Okay, now 38 is the intermediary number between the 33rd degree and the 45th degree, because you can't go any higher because they can't split the years, because I mean, everything's multiplied by 2. So when you go to the next one, it'll be, 2020 will be 40. So you have 38 to 40, but when you have that, from 38 to 40, it goes from 2019 to 2020. So there's that one in between. It would split the year, so it would be on the summer equinox, the summer solstice, summer equinox. So then when you go all the way to the 45th, you have 2 more years, right? And then you have a half. So is it? It's what? No, I'm sorry. It'd be 2022, I believe.
Yes,
yeah, 2022. It'd be 2022, and at the summer solstice, that will be the big day.
So, but going back to the 21st this year.
Yes.
There's just so much going on about that. So what are you're saying? It's like really raising us in our ascension journey. So, the spiritual kind of woohoo is saying that, we're going into different timelines, different dimensions, or we're experiencing a lot of spiritual awakenings, a different dimension of thinking. I don't know what your thoughts are, Mark, on that, but
that's been happening for quite a long time.
Yeah, it's been happening for a while. The light codes came, I definitely felt something in November last year. The 1111 number is very significant for me, Jason, as I was telling you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And seeing it everywhere all the time, but that's been happening for 4 or 5 years. And so I just felt something quite significant last year, memory serves me correctly, just a shift in my consciousness and just a change in the way my outlook was beginning to sort of form. And now it is when I sort of retrack and go back, I think everything makes sense. Articulating what's going on internally has been a little bit arduous at times because it's so much going on, but I'm feeling things from an inner plane. So when you speak about certain things, I can resonate, I can feel it. To be able to explain myself about it at the moment, I'm finding my feet. So this date that we're all kind of moving towards, we're only 6 days away now. So
or is it moving towards us?
It's moving. I think I'm going to wake up with wings, yeah, like wings, and I'm going to fly, and they're just. I know that's going to happen. So that's what I feel is going to happen for me. But in reality, what's going to happen? I know it's a bit of an ambiguous. It's just. It'd be nice to hear your view.
Well, what if we get our real sun back?
Yeah,
this whole thing, the solar simulator by Northrop Grumman. You can get rid of that. You can take that up, and then thank you. You're going from a y-axis to an x-axis. We're laying it back down so we can actually get our crystal sun back, and then they can put the crystal trees back. They can get rid of all, because we actually accomplished it. We got rid of all the evil. Now we can get the crystal trees back, and that's going to help us with our 97% junk DNA.
Junk DNA.
It'll help all that come together.
97% is junk, according to your teacher that you're about to be indoctrinated by the next day. Give me a call if you want to Skype.
And I'm just like 97% junk. I'm like, I mean,
can you believe
much trash that? Yeah, I'm like,
it's just hilarious, isn't it?
97%.
It's almost like the same person with the odometer going to the moon and going to the sun. It's 97 million trillion years. Like, so what if you're off by a couple miles? I mean, it's like, did anybody bother when it says firmament, what that means? It blows everybody. When you talk about flat Earth, people want to lose their shit. I'm like, guys,
I know.
Look at water. Water does not bend. It doesn't. Yeah. And then you're going to put on a spinning ball that spins at 1,040 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you land a plane? You can't.
It's hilarious.
I mean,
I don't mean to sound all high and mighty, but when I was told about flat Earth years ago, it just never bothered me. It never bothered me. It resonated with me, and I accepted it, and I moved on. It's amazing how these people they just get so upset, and I'm like, why? Why does it matter? Why does it matter if it's round or not? And exactly right, Jason. Water is flat; it doesn't bend. So it's a flat Earth. It never bothered me at all. It resonated with me, and I was just like, yeah, okay, flat Earth.
That's why we're sat here having this chat instead of sitting in front of the TV with a mask on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when
or driving with our mask on.
Earth thing, I couldn't find anything to prove that it was round, and I've flown aircraft for quite a long time, and I've never seen a curve ever.
Yeah.
It never made sense to me.
Everyone's oversized reaction about flat Earth. It's like it never made sense to me, the Earth being round, but I wouldn't ever say that because I never heard of the flat Earth concept until this year, and I know that sounds a bit crazy because I was so in my own little slumber. But when, like yourself, Greg, when I sort of heard about it, it's always made sense to me. The fact that it's round has never made sense to me, but I wouldn't ever speak up about that because I just thought I was full of crap and didn't really get it, you know. I thought maybe that's a bit silly, but the extent at how people, you're right, get upset. And this is just evident of the constructs of the cabal. I say this all the time. They have engineered this psychological warfare in people's minds, and they've been so successful in, like, you know, it's like, say Donald Trump's name, oh my God, people go crazy. Say the Earth is flat, oh my God, you weirdo. You know, these kind of oversized reactions are very telling at how successful this demonic energy has permeated in our lives. And here we are, like you said, Mark.
It's incredible. I've got a question, if I don't mind. I really, really want to go down the equinox route and all of that and what that means. But there's one thing you said, Jason, about Markabians, and I don't know if I've said that correctly. Markabians?
The Markabians? Yes.
Markabians, yeah. Where did the Vril fit in with all of that in your research?
The Vril, because the Vril Society, what the Vril were is, those are the ones that Hitler found in Antarctica. So they could have been actually the Markabians, the dormant Markabians.
They're like quite small creatures with the protubus, so they stick it in your eye and take over your consciousness, literally.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of, well, I'm in the west of Ireland, and I know that there's a base not far from here that's got a lot of them underneath that's been there for a very long time. And there was actually a kid murdered 3 years ago, not far from here, and he got, in the papers, it said he got put in a psychological, but I dug into it, and I've seen other people dug into it. And he killed this other guy because he knew that this other guy had been taken over by the Vril. He knew it, so he went and crowbarred him to death. These kids in their 20s. And it's right near this Masonic build. I mean, I'm not going to say too much about it.
We know where the M's fit in right here. Oh, bigness.
So they're connected. And the other thing is, have you seen JCK's readings? Have you heard of JCK who does the medium in Australia, who does the readings?
Remote viewings.
Remote viewings. So she came on YouTube, did a remote viewing about what was under Australia, and she's done and she's incredible. She got chosen for the job by people that we know are connected. And she actually saw the demons underground. She saw them. She saw minotaurs, demons. She saw all sorts of things, and human kids on a conveyor belt being consumed. And when I saw her first on YouTube, this is how all of this is happening with the connections. I just had a really strong vision of this minotaur creature, which was like I wasn't afraid of it because I've been fighting demons for a long time, but it was very, very powerful, and it was kind of snorting and looking at me, and sort of saying, you know, come and have a go. And then she said the same thing. And then all these paths keep crossing like this. Do you think that these creatures are literal physical creatures that have been sitting on the ground and being fed? Because, you know, there are demons under the Vatican, under all these places, and all this underground stuff. And some of the, you know, if you look at Gene Decode stuff, he's talking about some of those bases under America being like hundreds of miles deep and tens of thousands of years old. I mean, this goes way back. And this is what the reason I'm bringing this up is because I want people to understand this is not some 2-year plan. This is really
not at all.
But this goes back thousands of years.
And what we have are there's tunnels on the ground, but you have the U.S. Military and the dumbs underground. But then below that, you have the Chimeric tunnel system, and that's been here for over 25,000 years, 26,000 years. And what a chimera is, a chimera, however somebody pronounces it, it's half man, half animal. They have been doing these tests on animals today. I mean, I found some documents that they took a human anus and they sewed it onto a mouse. And I'm like, I thought this was on South Park. You know, I mean, with the butts and the monkeys and all that. I'm like, they're doing this for real?
No way.
Fuck. It's like, yeah. And when you think of Minotaur, a Minotaur is what is it, a bull and a human, I believe?
Yeah. Bull and a human, yeah.
Bull and a human?
Yeah.
It's all real. That's the thing. I mean, where do you think they get these ideas from? All these ideas from movies and everything, it's all real.
Yeah. I've always felt that. Yeah. I've always felt that what goes in the movies.
Yeah.
Well, it comes back to the writers, you know, H.G. Wells, who wrote The Island of Dr. Moreau. That was all about chimeras and.
Yep. And that's where Dr. Moreau, yeah, because that's where
and
that's where they used for South Park too.
Yeah, there's truth to all of these legends and myths and stories. They're not just tall tales or bedtime stories, folks. They're very real. There is layers upon layers of truth to all of these myths and legends, and they still exist today. Yeah, I mean, they're still very much around. I mean, they're being essentially eliminated and taken away, but nevertheless, still they're very, very real. Yeah, absolutely.
And it's
I always did think, where do they get the creativity for some of these crazy movies? And I heard you say in one of your shows, I think it was with Nick, that this stuff really happens. The vampire movies and
they're obsessed with the vampires.
Vampires.
Yeah, they are. Yeah,
it's an absolute obsession.
Aliens, all the sci-fi movies, the reptilians movies. So
that's why I put a line in one of my poems about Vlad the Impaler's vile descendants, because Prince Charles was proud of the fact that he was a descendant of Vlad the Impaler. And we'd go back and had a house there and everything, and we'd talk about it openly. And this is the same Vlad the Impaler that had kids' heads on spikes all around them. I mean, they've never really hidden it. It's just that we've not seen it.
We've been desensitized.
Yeah.
Or
and
we vibrated at a lower frequency, and part of this is all about vibrating at a higher frequency, which kind of breaks that down. That veil, this concept of the veil falling, is what we're living through right now, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
But we've been desensitized, and just from our pineal gland, like just in everything that we do and what we consume. So we're led to believe that it just happens in the movies, and it's just this indoctrination of what we see to be like, it's not reality, and everything that seems a bit too woohoo out there. In fact, when we're finding out now, it's actually a reality. All these different dimensions, all these different demonic entities. I mean, I can't openly talk about this sort of stuff within my community, and they think I'm barking mad. Well, I am that.
You're doing it now, Alpa.
I'm talking about within, I'm trying to have a conversation with some of my, and I say this respectfully, not to sort of be derogatory to anyone or any culture or anything, but if I try to have a conversation about demonic entities and all these parasitic hordes and stuff, it kind of just pushes people to this kind of reaction. It's like, what's she talking about? And I really understand what's going on, like especially parasitic cords that can latch onto you. So, I can identify that with, but talking about it openly and stuff has not been easy, for sure.
No, it's not. But part of the problem with all this is, Alpa and everyone, is that they've made all these things acceptable through programming and movies and Hollywood and TV shows and everything else like that. I mean, all you have to do is take a beautiful woman and slap her in black tights and give her 2 guns and have her going around shooting people and biting people, and all of a sudden vampirism is acceptable. Or you can turn it into a TV show and make it look sexy and cool and hip, and look at what all these people are doing, and look at what they're getting, and look at the life they're living, and all of a sudden vampirism is acceptable, or being a werewolf is acceptable. All of these things, they've made us believe that it's okay, that it is just, you know, and they've actually programmed us to the point where we think, oh God, I really want to be that. Like, that would be cool to be a vampire. You know, the whole idea of Halloween, you know, that's another, you know, predictive programming where we dress up our, you know, children like vampires and werewolves and have them running around pretending to essentially be a demonic beast of the dark. It's just horrible.
Halloween has never made sense to me. Never.
No, it never did. But again, you put someone like Kate Beckinsale in a movie and slap black tights on her and have her run around shooting things up and, you know, having sex and all this other stuff. It makes vampirism very, very acceptable. It does. It just makes it utterly acceptable to both men and women.
Well, I just want to jump in with two quick stories. Last year, I was giving lift some kids. I was helping out with some rowing on the lake, and I was talking about some of this stuff with the guy in the car, and I was talking about satanic Satanism and ritual abuse and paedophilia and everything. And this kid in the back of the car, who was like 13, he said, "Oh, that sounds great. That sounds great to me." I was like, "Oh fuck!" And that's a couple of months later. I was at a party. I've told this story in another video, but it's worth bringing up here. And this is how close I think we got to the end, right? This is how close I think we got to the end. I think we've dodged the biggest bullet of all time. But there was a woman in the bar, and I noticed her handbag it was a black handbag with an inverted pentagram on it, and I recognized it immediately because I've been studying this symbolism. Came up to the bar, stood next to me, and I just went, "Hi, is that your handbag?" And she went, "Yes, I'm a Satanist, so what?" And she was like, "Yeah, how dare you question my life choice?" And I was like, "Fuck, this is right in our face. It's everywhere." And when you know this stuff, I mean, I was in London in February, in Camden, and right opposite the Tube is a pub called the Camden Eye. And if you look, it's a pyramid with the great eye above it. Around the corner, this place where it's like a disc. I don't know, it's some nightclub stuff. There's a giant silver. It's called Cyberdog. But it's actually a Baphomet, huge silver Baphomet. Wow. And it's everywhere, right?
We don't even notice.
Don't notice. It's just hidden in plain sight. And that's what they've done all this time. But that time is up.
Yeah.
It's up. Because
symbolism is the downfall everywhere. Now we're like looking for it. We can see it. We can notice it. I notice things everywhere now.
Yeah.
And when you were talking about the vampires and everything, it's like, look what they did with Twilight and all that. They go after the kids first. They make sure the kids accept it, everything like that. And then the parents like, "Oh, you're watching that junk again." It's like they are programming your kids to become this quicker than anything. And I mean, you think about like the show Charmed and like Alyssa Milano, perfect case in point, perfect.
Yeah.
It's like her husband, he actually owns and runs the Creative Artists Agency in Hollywood, which that is the cloning center for Hollywood. And she's one of the, because there was a picture of her and Joe Biden, right? And she was right in front of a TV and it was off. The thing is that when you're standing in front of a TV and the light's behind you, you know, the light's coming in, you can still see somewhat of an outline. You can't see an outline of her anywhere. Like you see Biden, but you don't see her. And they're all witches. And it's just like all the beasts that wear white at Trump's State of the Union and all the State of the Union. They all sit in a pack and all that. That's a coven. It's a whole coven of witches.
Yes, I heard this.
I mean, they're everywhere. And then you have the Mothers of Darkness Castle over in Belgium. I mean, some of the stuff that goes on here, because that's where they have the 1,000 points of light. It's a big dome with a bunch of shards of glass that are like glued up in this whole dome. That's where they run all these high-end bloodline birthing rituals. Like you have Jenna and was it Laura Bush? Jenna and Laura Bush, the daughters, the twins for George W. Bush. They're witches out of there. And some of the things that they have to do, like when they're 19, they have to go in for a ritual, and they have like all these rituals they go there for. It's like the dead. It's so disgusting. I don't even want to talk. It's like it's that disgusting. I'm like, what is wrong with these people?
So
it exists and it happens.
Yeah.
So I think the big question is that's interesting from this, and we could dig into this very deep, but how do you guys think Trump got to this point?
Yeah, this was one of my questions. Yeah.
Because it's so fascinating see this guy cultivate this personality over a very long period of time. And I've been aware of him for 30 years, you know, and here he is, perfectly placed, beat them, obviously with a huge organization and thing behind him. But some people think he was just, this story about him being picked and briefed a couple of years ago doesn't wash with me. I think it goes way, way.
Yeah, but people have likened him to the sort of Galactic Federation of Light. The populating.
I think Jason's got something there.
I know, and yes, go on, tell us. This is great question, Mark. Thanks for bringing that up.
Segue into that, Jason.
Let's go to Greg's house, the Galactics.
Well, because we know what President Trump actually is, and Melania, they're both. There was some packets out that were by W.C. Vetsch, V-E-T-S-C-H, and this one is titled Text, and it has C in a kill box, right? And it says the title of this work is simply Text. For years, there have been basically two sets of books kept on planet Earth. The set for the elite were called textbooks, and they contained the truth. The set of the books for ordinary people were known to the elite in kill box as X-text, which means bad text or text filled with disinformation and propaganda with just a tiny bit of real truth to give them some sort of credibility. So they have codes in here. They start talking about, you know, the types of people and everything like that. Well, we got to this point where they talk about the quasar people. Now, these are celestial, the star people, and the star group. Now, when they talk about they say the quasar people are males. Females may have the same genetic qualities but are not quasar. They're called super. So the super class is the same class, but it's just below the quasars because it's a female. So that's Melania, which is super class. People have white skin, brown hair, hazel eyes. It's like, really? Okay. So the quasars, like a young quasar is a Q1. During life, the quasar generally matures to a Q2 and some reach Q3 sophistication. Some are selected by God to advance to the next level, which is a Q5. The growth to level Q5 is not automatic. Special permission is needed for this. For normal activities of human life, Q3 and Q5 people are essentially the same. The quasar class is a special group. They can mature to become perfectly balanced people with a sexual index of 5. Now, when they have the male and female, right? That's where everything goes wrong there as well, because it's not like man and woman. You have a masculine and a feminine scale. You have a 0 to 10. Now, for the quasars, the sexual index is a 5. So it's like right in the middle, like perfect balance. And the group 1, Q1 and Q2 need a mate. However, Q3 and Q5 do not. The inversion of the quasar is the ultra super female. So you have the inversion. So you have Melania, which is the ultra super female. And her sexual index is also low. And so she will be glad her mate is not constantly jumping on her. And her quasar mate will be glad she is not always asking for it. Now, the Q5 is called the spiritual officer, which is an SO-1. He's a direct agent of God. Now, President Trump actually is the second coming. He is the Christ. Because Christ is in office. Because it was Jesus of the Christ, not Jesus Christ, Jesus of the Christ. It was always in office. It's a military order that was established back in 1370, because it was after they got rid of the Knights Templar, and it was established in Portugal. Now, even in that book, the Keys of Enoch, which I had right here. But I'll send a picture of the pyramid. And what they have there is, it's right here. And what they have in that key 118, they have a hierarchy of our Father Universe. Now, I can hold this up right here. Let's see.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
That is amazing.
I've seen this before.
We've just done a whole thing on the abracadabra clock, which is exactly the same.
And what I could do is I could send this to you guys, and I could give it to Alpa and give her the whole thing, because they have the whole Metatron, the Creator Gods, Paradise Sons, the Councils of Light, Archangel Michael, and then you have the Christ, and then they have the Office of the Christ. Then below that, you have the 144,000 ascended masters. Then outside of the pyramid, you have brotherhoods governing physical and spiritual planets, extraterrestrial populations, which can freely circumnavigate planetary worlds, meta, material, interstellar foundations. I mean, this is so big, this book, it actually has the codes for all 64 strands of our DNA.
Wow.
And it's $50. It was www.keysofenoch.org.
Wow, this is intense.
And it is.
Yeah.
I mean, this book, it talks about like all the intergalactic stuff. And I mean, this is, I mean, and this was sent to me. Remember when Alpa was talking about the steampunk, the rabbit?
Yeah.
And I mentioned I got a book in it. I'm like, this is the greatest book I've ever gotten. And that book tells you everything. I mean, it's like a guidebook on what's happening right now.
So the 144,000, what was it that you said? The 144,000?
The 144,000 was it? The Ascended Masters.
Ascended Masters. Okay, because
Yes.
that number, Mark and I always talk to Mark about this, that I see that number everywhere all of the time. And Mark and I actually wouldn't mind showing it in a little while. Like, you know, I was telling you about that blue light. Mark and I did our first chat. In fact, if guys, you don't mind, I just want to show Jason this because it's really significant to what we're talking about. So hold on.
While
So
you're
we-
showing that,
Here, I'm gonna send you the pictures also. The ones for
yeah, sorry, I've got the most
what's okay.
flattering photo of both of us. But
I'm just gonna go and tuck my son in. I'll be back in a second.
yeah, that's fine. Hold on. Second.
Yeah.
So can you see
I'll be
this?
right back.
Pardon?
Yes.
You see this, right? So we
Yep.
started talking about the 144,000 light workers, yeah? And it was just at that moment. If you look here, Jason, yeah, and everyone that's watching, yeah? So around 23 minutes, actually, I noticed when I was just rendering this video. So if we go here, so we exactly at the moment, we start talking about the 144,000 light workers. So here, where my arrow is, can you see the arrow?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it starts at sort of emerging. Hold on, let me just move you guys there so I can't see what I'm doing. Okay. And then I sort of move to 25 minutes. Can you see? It's just this little kind of thing in the air. Now, I do have a window here, but it wasn't sunny that day. And there's just no way that I would get that sort of light. Then you move to say, so we were on 25 minutes. Let's move to 26. Now it looks like a little kind of orb. Yeah.
Oh.
Right. And then you go a little bit bigger. Come on. And now look what happens. Right. And then you go a little bit further to sort of 30 minutes. Now, just like to point out that particular day, I was speaking to my lovely friend Taryn, and I was just saying to her that, you know, I'm finding it really difficult doing these podcasts because this, like, I can be actually quite an introverted person, yeah, and having to do this on a global stage and start talking about all this stuff, this truth that I suddenly found out about, I was really finding it difficult. And so she said, oh, I'm sending you a lot of blue light healing, and you know, you'll be fine. So, you know, afterwards when I saw this, it was like, oh my God, it literally came. So now look at it, around 31 minutes, it's grown. And then we go to 33 minutes. Look how big it's gone now, Jason.
Wow. And you can see it actually go up the wall. You can see it, like it almost formed like a sphere, like it's protecting you.
Yeah.
Like you can see it, like the outline.
Yeah. And now at 35 now, it's gone really big. Yeah. And then here we go to around about 38. It's like booming on me. And we're talking on the subject about the 144,000, if I'm not wrong, ascended masters or whatever it was. And then around 40, like now, it's just gone.
Wow. It took over the whole.
Right. And then,
Wow.
and it's like gone here. So from 20 minutes, it was like, you know, I feel the energy of Shiva a lot. So I sort of interpreted it as that, but you know, by 43, yeah, this is when it goes really big. And I think 45, it starts going, yeah, 45, I think is at its largest. And then watch, right? So we just skip a bit. Look how small it goes. And then let's just go to 49 minutes. It goes You see? There's sort of fade here. So yeah, that was insane. That's why I was asking you about that. Like, you know, I've read so many different things, but I'm always intrigued and curious to hear other people's thoughts on that, and everything that you're saying about Melania and Trump, and then these 144,000 ascended masters. I mean, this is huge and vast, and like so much to sort of take in. And it's fascinating. It's fascinating for me.
That stuff, Jason, in that book, that's surely what the mystery schools stuff is all about, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just pulled this up. This was next to my bed. This is what they pulled out of the Bible, basically.
Yes.
In the Council. Yeah, 300. They don't want us to know this stuff, so everybody should go and read this.
No, not at all. And then what I did was, Alpa, I sent you some pictures from actual NASA documents.
Okay, you sent
from 2 documents. Yeah, I sent them to you in the messenger, and they actually say that's a flat, non-rotating Earth. NASA does, and they sorted everything. One of them was on April 17th, 1961. So you have the 17, and then 1961's ended up being a 17. And then April's the 4th month. You had April 4 to 20 to 17. You get 21 to 777. I mean,
oh my God, 777.
Yeah.
Well, Tesla said
mathematically impossible.
That's the number that's followed me this year. 777.
Well, Tesla's still here.
Yeah.
So I just
Tesla and all of them are still alive.
So Tesla said the same thing, and he talked about the firmament. Where does all that fit in with you guys?
You know about the dome. I mean, they were trying to nuke it in the 50s.
Yeah.
Operation Fishbowl. I mean, well, what if they would have succeeded? I mean, are they that stupid? I mean, really. But stupidity goes without saying with them. Because what did they essentially use? They used all the Nazis that they brought over here, and they just continued this whole space program, secret space program.
Do you want me to show these pictures?
Yeah, you can show them. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Please do.
Okay, hold on. So just 1 second, guys. You guys just.
And we have the hard copy of these documents also. There they are. And then included the one with the triangle. So I think it's, there you go.
Wow.
Wow.
So let's talk through this then. This is interesting, isn't it, guys?
Very familiar.
Yeah.
Right.
And if there's
That looks familiar to me.
So here we go.
Actually,
144%.
I'll send you the definition of these too.
Hierarchical. And then so I just leave it at this one. Wow. You said you've seen this, Mark, right?
Well, just before, can I just, because you've got that there on the screen, can I just share my screen quickly and show you something that I've got quickly, like it's side by side? And then.
What do I need to do? Do I need to allow you to?
Oh, you've disabled screen sharing.
Should I? What do I do? Hold on.
Don't ask me how you do it because I've forgotten. Or I can send this to you and you can show this.
Yeah. Okay.
I'll do it as a screen grab. Because this has been the theme of the year. That what I'm looking at.
Were you sending it to me on?
I don't know.
Hold on. Let me just stop to share for a second. Let me just allow you to share. Sorry, guys. It's fine. Multiple pass. Here you go. You should be able to do it.
Okay. Let me just.
For a second.
So everybody's got that in their mind. Now look at this.
Yep.
So Jason and Greg, there's a couple of guys that approached me a few months ago, and they said, "Oh, we've got something to share with you." And they started talking about working with the energy guys, as they call them, and how that we were on level 24, which you've got to meet these guys, Jason, because they speak the same language. And 24 doubles up as 42. Now we're on level 72. We've ascended. The crystal trees are all part of that. This used to be much bigger, and then it shrunk, and then it got bigger again. And this is why the giant bones and the dinosaurs and everything else. It all relates to this, which the guy that contacted me as a kid, he was a very powerful medium. He shunned it, and he could see all sorts of stuff, energy and everything. And then he left it for a few years, and in his 20s, he found it again. And then he's found himself going and being like, going off on these journeys. He just disappeared for 6 days, and he came back 2 days ago, where he'd been to basically lock this dimension, this quantum, into place and get rid of all the negatives up on the Galactic Council. All the evil was put on trial and sentenced to death, and he came back and he's done. And he's probably asleep now in a couple of days' rest. But we ended up calling it the abracadabra thing because he'd never read a book in his life, but he got given, he got this urge to go to a bookshop and picks up this book, which my computer sat on. This is an edition of it called Phrase and Fable. And he bought this and he turned straight to the word abracadabra. And then and another book fell off a shelf basically in front of him, which was a dictionary. And then he pieced this clock together, which there's more detail on it. And here, these are handwritten drawings. So I just wanted to bring that up because it's very, very similar.
Wow.
To this is an ebook we brought out to go with it.
Wow.
It's to do with the numbers and the codes and everything else that are built into the clock. And the clock looks very similar to that thing that you just showed. And what the interesting bit is that this part of it, the bottom piece, as you know, in your diagram, you've got that, and then you've got the circle above it. That part there is nothing, and everything else is everything, because you can't have anything without nothing. And the throne that the kings and queens used to be crowned upon fits into that perfectly, and the keys of it all fits in. It's all to do with the cross keys. All over England, there are pubs called the Cross Keys next to churches, which are on ley lines where this is all locked in, and it's all connected to the same thing that you just showed us there, I think.
Wow, this is deep.
There's the Vatican key.
This is amazing stuff.
On the Anglican Church emblem, that's the Vatican key. It's all to do with these keys. The keys all relate to that pattern. There you go. And these are the numbers. I mean, I'm still working this out myself, but
it says above, so below. Also,
I've seen
also,
that.
it's symmetrical.
And also, it fits in with this, which is the Taurus, right? The eternal energy
Field
inside every one of us. Anybody that's watched the film Thrive, you'll know about the Taurus. And Tesla cracks all this, 369, long time ago, which is why they cut him out of the history books. And there's Donald Trump's signature, which fits the same format.
Wow.
Wow.
See number 22 there so much, and that's really significant, isn't it? Number 22.
Yeah, I don't know how to switch screen. I don't know.
Just to stop screen share.
Have I stopped it yet?
No.
Oh, there it is.
No.
Wow.
Well, I just want to show you that because it just triggered me when I saw that this is definitely it.
Yeah, it is. And I have some other and the thing is, when they mention like when you show that the one with all the circles, and even in one of the Q drops they mentioned, draw a circle, expand your thinking. Well, think of a circle, and then it says expand your thinking. So when you think expand, you're making circles on top of circles. And it was one of the flat Earth little codes in there too. The biggest one was the about Snowden and his travels, about the trip to Hong Kong, to Venezuela and Honduras. And they said, well, was it, why was he in Russia? Was that his final destination and all this? And it's like, if you want to go buy a ticket from Hong Kong to Honduras or Venezuela, just go into a business that does for other airplane flights and just type it in and see where all the stops are. You'll notice that we stopped from Hong Kong, we stopped in Helsinki, Finland, we stopped in Brussels, Belgium, we stopped in Madrid, Spain, we ended up in Venezuela. So somebody can tell me that believes it's a spinning ball, how that fits in, I'd love to hear it. Because if they have it documented, then that means that, just saying, I mean, it's right there. And then I also, they have a bunch of the, like the codes, like the definitions for everything that was in there. And I'll go ahead and send it to you as well. So you can actually post them, and because everybody's like, well, what does this mean? What does this mean? And that diagram with the triangle, and it actually tells you. I mean, even quantum and quantum leap and everything, it's all in the book. It's like, it is that deep of a book.
I want that book.
And it's keysofenoch.org. Because a lot of places they have like $300, but keysofenoch.org.
Yeah, I've got it written down.
Wow.
Yep.
It's the greatest book you'll ever own.
Some deep.
I cannot think. It was. Whew.
This one showed me the hierarchy of our fathers of the universe. I've seen this image many times. Wow.
Talk about the New Jerusalem coming to America, which you saw what President Trump did. And that's all he did. The return of the dove.
Yeah, so go back to Trump. So he's, I always thought that Melania was a Palladian. There's a lot about her, and she's definitely from out of the galactics, should I say. It's just that look within, right? Is that there's a lot about her being from either a starseed or a Palladian, and I'm not so au fait with that subject, but she definitely doesn't look like she's from here. She's perfect.
That ultra super,
yeah.
That ultra super. It's pretty big because I mean, and it says the quasar at level 3 or 5 is considered to be the most powerful creature in the physical universe. This power, however, is not a physical, but rather has to do with maintaining very delicate balances. It could be called zero power because access to the other planes of existence and to all the secrets of God cannot be obtained by any type of brute force, but rather by maintaining perfect balance and doing nothing at all. That's why he gave all the powers for all the shutdowns and lockdowns to the governors. He didn't say, he said, you guys do it. If I'm such a dictator, here you go.
Clever.
You guys dictate, and that's the thing. Oh, he's Hitler. I'm like, he just brought like world peace, I'm like, I don't think that was one of Hitler's, finer quotes, but
no, definitely not.
I mean, the man was loved before he got into office, and all of a sudden he's evil. Well, because he's done all this pedophilia shit and all this satanic shit, just nipping in the bud right there. And it kind of shows that how many they really have they've infected. Because I mean, even with Planned Parenthood back in 2016, Planned Parenthood and the Temple of Satan actually combined forces. So now every abortion, it's a satanic sacrifice. And that's how they got all their power so fast, their evil power so fast. I'm like, you guys don't know what you're doing.
Every birth in the West for the last 100 years at least is a satanic ritual.
Yep.
Every hospital. Yeah. In Ireland, they just spent €1 billion building a new children's hospital. And from above, guess what shape it's in? The big eye.
Wow.
Right? And when I saw this, I was like, this is just a soul harvesting farm on a grand satanic scale, right in your faces. They're not hiding anything.
Yeah. And if you think about what Donald Trump's had to do on a global stage, he's had to deal with these psychopathic adversaries in every industry, in every fraternity, in all the governments. And, you know, we sat there, the people who've given him a hard time, I mean, I just can't fathom this. Like, I can't, like, if we, with what we know and the task at hand to deal with this level of evil on a global scale, it wasn't an easy job. And it wasn't something that, I agree with you, Jason, that wasn't done within the 4 years. I don't think this has been a 4-year plan. It's been well before that, even before some people saying like it's been a 20-year undercover military operation. I even think it goes beyond this. This sort of has so many, yeah, this is,
it goes way back.
The alignments of the stars, astrologically, you know, we're talking about the Mayan Gregorian calendars, you know, the end of the world was supposed to be 2012, but effectively, are we in 2012 right now? You know, this time and space. And
that's why we've been here before and why we've done this before, because
here, right now, we've done this, the 4 of us.
Well, there's a lot of us around. I mean, it's Trump's done his job, but everybody on this planet that's conscious is doing something, whether they realize it or not, because we're multidimensional. So we're working in multiple dimensions all the time. And I'm all this year I've been exhausted. I'm fighting every single time I go to sleep.
Yeah,
I sleep in the middle of the day for 4 hours just to get on with it, you know. And I thought it was just me. And you know, you do, because you think it's just you, until you then meet somebody else and you go, oh, you as well. And you meet somebody else. Suddenly, it's all accelerating, because what's going on with the change that's going on in society right now, I think is like this analogy I use a lot, which is like a petri dish full of bacteria. You put a couple of different bacteria and it goes change, and suddenly boom, the whole thing changes. It's like the American Revolution had support of about 3.5%, I believe, Washington had. Was that, yeah, it's a small, you don't need a 50-60%, you need a small amount, and then that frequency shifts everything instantaneously. And I think we are in a chrysalis, like a caterpillar right now. And when a caterpillar goes into a chrysalis, there's a cell called the imago cell. I might have mispronounced that, but it's where we get the word imagination from, I think, which suddenly it changes into a butterfly, like instantaneously. There's no progression, no evolution, it just instantly changes. And I think that's what's going to happen to the human race, because all these sleeping people, some of them are non-player characters or twangers or whatever you want to call them, but the rest of us who are the people that are waking up during the Q's Great Awakening, that's why it's called that, it's going to be like this huge thing. And I think this links back to the 21st of December and what Jason said about this period of time, this 2-year period of time. And I've never been more excited about anything in my life. And I was suicidal 2 years ago, and I can't believe I nearly missed this.
Yeah, Charlie Freak talks about like 2022 being the kind of the year of revelations. So a lot of these things that you say make sense in terms of timelines. But yeah, we're only 6 days away from the 21st.
Wow. Yeah, I can feel it.
Is there anything that we need to be doing, Jason?
Actually, why don't we have a party on here on the 22nd?
Yeah.
Then we'll find out what's going on.
Well,
right?
Let's definitely do that.
Tuesday?
Yeah,
let's do it next Tuesday.
Tuesdays. Yeah, we're going to do Truth Tuesday. So this is going to be obviously a big hit, because this was supposed to be live, and everything that's supposed to be is as it's supposed to be. I genuinely believe that. But I mean, there is so much more to cover for sure.
Big things happen on Tuesday.
Pardon?
Big things happen on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
That they do.
Yeah.
That they do. And then not to mention,
and we have a lot to talk about in the future, guys. A lot.
Yeah, we haven't even touched on what's going on with the election. I think maybe we can. Well, I think if there's anything you guys want to say about what's going on, where we're heading within sort of the next few days, like, you know, what's going on with the military, with Trump. I mean, today the newspapers are all declaring Biden as the president.
Thank you. Oh, they have officially shot themselves in the foot like you wouldn't believe.
The treason comes full circle.
They just keep full treason season.
Now it is
get them
complete perfect circle of treason.
Yes.
It's like a business fly trap. They can't help it. They have to go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where's the article? We actually have an article for that too.
No, they have pleaded the treason.
Declaring his support for Biden today.
Who did?
Putin.
Who did?
Putin.
Putin. Really?
Yeah. Did you hear about that?
Are you sure?
The thing is,
Sure, it's not a clone.
So my dad came in today and he goes, you know, I heard that Putin now is supporting, but he's congratulating Biden, and I'm like, what? And I looked on Google, and it's like, yeah, Putin congratulates Biden. So it's like all the other prime ministers and things like that. So he's just so confused, bless my dad. But that's what I heard over dinner today, and I'm like, oh God, what does this mean now?
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Because we don't watch the news, right? So I mean, I'm like, I get to
hear. It's probably a clone. Either that or for optics, because Putin's got a lot of clones.
Well, it's definitely optics, but
no, but I thought he was with Trump. Well, controlled opposition with Putin.
Maybe that's his lines in the script in the movie. Because I mean, if he's thanking him, they're like, see, you know, he didn't, you know, what about the Russia collusion? It's like that kind of throws it on a bus if he's sitting here congratulating Biden, because they all know. I mean, Putin, they're all on Trump's side. There's no way that anybody, especially this article, it says Trump says he will leave office if Electoral College votes for Biden. That plays right into the hand of the Sarah. There has to be a special election. It has to be blockchain voted. So what this does is now there's a Supreme Court case in 1878 that actually states fraud is fraud. If you have any kind of fraud, you know, everything's fraudulent. That means the whole election. And with them saying, well, Supreme Court saying, well, we can't see this. We can't hear this. Who kept quiet? There's only two that said they'd see it. And they were trying to say that, the other one said they wouldn't see it. Well, the ones that Trump put in, they had no comment. Okay. He's pretty much like, don't say anything, they'll hang themselves. Okay. They kept quiet. Then you have Roberts, Sotomayor, Kagan, because Kagan that's Huma, H-U-M-A, the capital. She is the Harvard Muslim Alumni Association. She was the dean of Harvard that got the $20 million from bin Talal to be nominated to the Supreme Court under the guise of the Muslim Brotherhood.
Yeah.
They infiltrated everything.
Yeah.
Everything, even the high courts. I mean, that's what he's showing. He's like, look, infiltration at the highest levels, even the Supreme Court where you have to get like nominated.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like with Ginsburg. People are, oh, poor. I'm like, she wanted to lower the age of consent to 12. Are you insane?
Yeah.
And who approved her? Clinton. It's like, why wouldn't he, right?
You know, I think she was like an icon, the feminist movement. I mean,
you touch one kid, you want to touch them all, right?
Yeah, she was absolutely insatiable, big time pedophile, absolutely insatiable
feminist icon. I felt sick, you know, and it's so a lot of the Asian girls are like, you know, all my friends had Ruth Bader Ginsburg as an icon and a role model for feminism, and there I'm looking at her creased sheet over her funeral casket saying traitor.
Yeah,
she was a traitor.
Yeah, wrinkled flag is for a traitor.
Yeah,
much worse than a traitor, a demon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Actually, that brings me on. I've got a question for you guys. Abraxas. You heard of Abraxas?
Yes.
So this links back to the clock and the abracadabra, because if it goes back to the 1880 edition of Fraser and Fable, I think you'd love this book, Jason. It's phenomenal. It's been written for like 140 to 160 years. They update it every 20 years. In there, in that edition, somebody sent it to me today, and you could see abracadabra described in there, because it's kind of a dictionary that tells stories behind the words rather than just definitions. And underneath that is Abraxas, but in my edition, Abraxas isn't there. Now, Abraxas is allegedly the head demon, right, that is no longer in charge. And I heard that it was there for like 1.5 million years. And that this soul harvesting farm that we've grown up in and been back here again and again and again in the trap of reincarnation goes back, you know, all that time. And it's because Abraxas had a contract and that ended. Now, this is what I've heard. I don't know if you guys have heard anything about that. I'd love to know if you have.
Yes.
A lot of this stuff is quite new for me. I mean,
I'll fill in the gaps while it's getting those things.
We got it. All right. So what we found was when you said Abraxas, and there's like a game, right? Because remember they talk about games, and they have Asmodeus. So it's like Abraxas Asmodeus. And it's the most powerful of the 9 archdevils that inhabited hell, right? Well, the thing is that there's also this one, and it caught me by surprise, but I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Mephistopheles, right? Now, Mephistopheles is the ruler of Cana, the 8th layer of hell, where he keeps many of hell's greatest secrets and contracts. Now, when you see the C_A, right? The underscore doesn't mean like one letter. It means it has to start with C, and a line can go as far as possible, but it has to end with A. Like China, Cana, California, same thing. So now we go to the symbolism, right? They said the symbols are rarely seen, however, as owing one's allegiance to Mephistopheles is most often kept secret. Alternate versions of his unholy symbol exist, including a red sun eclipsed by 3 mountains, a tongue pierced with 3 studs, and a scale surmounted with a feather topped by a bone. Now, the tongue pierced with 3 studs, what that is remember when they mentioned Death Blossom in the Q drops? It just says Death Blossom. Well, that was the last weapon they used in the last Starfighter movie, a long time ago. Remember when we were kids? Now, when you look at that ship, and you look at the Ryugang Hotel in Pyongyang, North Korea, it's the same exact design. It's a pyramid, and it has 3 outlets, right? And they come up like studs, right? This building, they call it the Hotel of Horror. It's never been inhabited, but they finished it. And what it is, it's like a mind control. It's like a massive mind control place. That's why they're all going to North Korea. Well, they were building the same one, only bigger, in Saudi Arabia, but they stopped construction of it because of what was it, 2018, or I think 2018, 2019, because of that's when they busted Bin Talal and all that, the Bin Laden group. They were all part of it, and they were building a bigger one. I mean, they were that close with taking over everything. That's why I said Saudi Arabia is first, because I mean, that's like the evilness. Now, they said Mephistopheles originated as the consciousness of hell itself, predating Asmodeus' discovery of the plane. So technically, you have the consciousness of light going against the consciousness of death, of dark, the light and dark forces. So the consciousness of hell, it's like that's what we're battling. And when they talk about like symbolism, like they have a symbol, a sacred animal, sacred colors. Their symbol is a trident and a ring, right? The sacred animal is a mockingbird. Sacred colors are red and yellow.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. And when you mentioned about signing, they talk about this Vizier. Now, what it was Mephistopheles' quill pen created for him by Doc, which was the head of the dragons, from an adamantine mountain in Nessus in exchange for the adamantine morass, a region of Cana ceded by Mephistopheles to Doc to be his divine realm. What a morass is, it's a swamp. So, and Trump has actually used it in statements. He's actually said morass. I'm like, did he just say what I thought he just said? Like, you got to be kidding me. But this pen, it can also be used as a weapon capable of storing blood samples of creatures struck by it, granting Mephistopheles various special powers over those victims. A Vizier is used to pen a contract that forces Asmodeus to void the creation of Mephistopheles. Both he and it crumbled to ashes. But this pen, when you sell your soul, what do you use? It's a pen.
Pen.
So,
is that what Trump signs his executive orders with?
Well, he just used markers. But this is who they this is the one that they use for like the soul contracts. When they have all these people sign they sign over their souls and everything. That's a soul contract pen.
What's the normal pen?
Yes, it's very horrible. And they talk about this whole
Trump
this
signed
whole thing. I mean, it even goes down to like Bill Gates, right? I mean, with Calistria. Now they hold it like they're held in high regards to the, and they often identify with their moods and changeable nature, a fondness for wasps. She earned the vengeful deity the title of the sabered sting. And let's see, what is it? Right here, the titles.
What was that killer wasp thing they tried to bring in the middle of the lockdown?
Oh, the hornet.
The killer hornets, yeah.
Killer hornets.
Japanese killer hornets, yeah.
Now, look at that symbol. Tell me if that symbol does not look familiar to anybody. The NIH, the pin, the NIH. It's the same symbol. It's the same exact symbol.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Look.
I mean,
Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just upside down. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same exact.
That's a Benz upside down. Yeah.
But it's a symbol. It's a symbol that the NIH, the National Institute of Health, that's what Fauci has on his pin.
Yes.
But it's also the one that Kobe wears. Kobe wears this one as well. Well, he wore it.
The Alfa Romeo, do you know in the Alfa Romeo, sorry, slightly different sign, but they have it in the car emblems.
All car symbols are related to Saturn and Satan and all this.
Yeah.
Yes. It's all satanic.
All the car symbols are satanic because these symbols beam frequencies. The frequencies go into us, and then we create the world that they want us to create.
Yep. Yeah.
And they have to do it to us.
Everything.
Yep.
And
it's everything.
Some of us don't decode it that way. That's the weird
No,
thing.
I noticed that with the Alfa Romeo, and I was just walking by, and I said, "Why is there the snake and then the
That's
sword?"
the Kundalini energy.
Yeah, but there's because there's a good side to that, and then there's the negative connotations to it. So the serpent represents both. It's the duality, right? So it has the dark side, and then I think I remember seeing it on one of David Icke's shows where he talks about the Alfa Romeo, and then I noticed it, and then I started seeing that. So it's like, why do they do it on cars? But yeah, you've answered that question. Wow.
Well, that's my theory. No,
but it's true. That makes sense. That energy is permeated. I mean, if you think about everything that's happening at grassroots within our own sort of like nuclear families and our groups, people that we hang around with, or there's always going to be this kind of this negativity that's there, which is permeated through all this cabal constructs.
Yeah, I think even electric cars are part of that as well, because you're sat on a massive battery and the electromagnetic field.
Oh, God.
Yep.
I want those wings. Not too much of an ask. I want those wings. Gosh, wow. Yeah. Sorry, Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the titles that, like the Sabered Sting, the Lady in the Room, the Unquenchable Fire. Think vaccines. And that's why this Calistria, that's Bill Gates. I mean, the Sabered Sting, Lady in the Room, you have a nurse, right? The Unquenchable Fire, that's a vaccine. I mean, it's a fire that you can't put out. It's in your veins. It's in your blood. I mean, this whole thing it's just one big wicked game.
So I had a thought when you said about the C underscore the A, and it can be any letters.
Yes.
And it made me think of all the names of the continents, which are all end in A. Like Australia, America, not start with a C, but the A was interesting to me.
Yeah.
Antarctica, Asia, Europa, as was now Europe. I'm sure it's all connected.
Oh, I wouldn't doubt it. And that's the best part about it, is that if we sit here, the more of us that actually, combine all that, everything that we've learned and, like telling each other, like ideas, just bouncing them off of everybody and then just building it up. I mean, that's exactly what we're supposed to do. That's the only way we're going to get the truth.
We need to start a new crypto called the Truth Coin. We'll have everything on the blockchain. Bitcoin.
I'll invest in that.
Why not? Let's do it.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
Single with that one. I like that one.
Yeah, no, that's great.
Now, since you guys are both galactic, you guys are big in the galactics, right? Have you ever looked in the Ahriman forces? AHRIMAN forces. That's the bottom of the rabbit hole right there. I mean, that's, yeah.
That's,
Yeah.
AHRIMAN forces. There's a booklet that we
How'd you say
printed
this?
out, like printed it. It's Ahriman, AHRIMAN.
Yeah.
Ahriman. And the crazy thing is that, you know, I'll try to find the site that I got this from, and you know, all the pages and everything like that. I mean, I don't care if I have to print out and mail it to you guys. Personally, there is so much in here. I mean, even the call before the storm, it's in here. Because what it is, it's a redress of grievances. And what they did was they put Congress on notice that you guys didn't put an oath that the Constitution is the law of the land. Anything other than that is treason. And guess what? Now it's time. We're a country of law and order. He even made that on May 1st. May Day, he did Law and Order. What was it? Law Day USA on May 1st, 2020. He did that on purpose because of what was founded on May 1st, 1776. The Illuminati were founded in America on May 1st, 1776. So he's like, well, we're just going to go ahead and flip that day. And he's just every one of these days that he does, that he makes, you know, he's just flipping.
Yeah.
He didn't
switching the energy.
He didn't go to an ordinary school, did he?
No. I think we have the school that he went to, but he says he went to New York. And I'm like, I don't think you did. But I think you went to Fishburne Military Institute in Wayne Street, in Wayne County, in Waynesboro, Virginia. I'm like, when he talks about being Batman, I'm like, you are Bruce Wayne. and the thing is, who else went there?
By the way.
Yeah, and then who else went to that school? Vince McMahon. It's like, that's where your tie is. It's like you have his wife on your, you know, on your cabinet, and then, you know, WWF, you know, they were doing all that, you know, back and forth with all WrestleMania, shaving each other's heads off. But I think it was a bigger setup towards the NFL, because he had he bought the New Jersey Generals back in the 80s. Now his team was so stacked. He had Jim Kelly, Doug Flutie, he had Lawrence Taylor, he had Herschel Walker. I mean, stacked. And he wanted to play the NFL, teams in the NFL. Well, they're like, no. They they put him in like an antitrust lawsuit. Well, he won the lawsuit, but he only got $3. So he ended up the USFL. They ended up folding. And it was funny when they said, "Why does he always surround himself with generals?" I'm like, because he owned the New Jersey Generals. I mean, that too. You know, it's like, I mean, he wanted to build a big stadium that said Trump on the outside, and all these people in football are like, no, we can't let him do it. Now, like the Good Old Boy Network, I'm like, these guys are infiltrated way deep. So when he did that, I'm like, you know, now with the whole with them kneeling at the flag, you know, that's a whole Freemasonic ritual, is kneeling. It's like, oh boy, are they going right for blood? And he's like, oh, hey, why don't you find the XFL there, Vince, again? So he did it again, and then it went under, and it's like, it's got to go again. It's like, just do it one more time, because everything's in twos. He's like, yeah, just do it again. It's like, we need one more time. So I'm like, this man is like literally Trolladamus. I mean, he's the greatest.
He's unreal.
Yeah,
it's like,
unreal.
What are we going to do after he eliminates all of them? I mean, who's going to bust balls on, you know?
Well, it's going to be up to us.
Yeah.
Wow. And
it's going to be up to us. I mean, he's not going to be around forever. You know, as divine and amazing as he is, when this is all said and done, this man deserves our love, compassion, our respect, and he deserves a rest. He deserves a rest. He's doing God's work. He's doing the work of the Creator, and it's just absolutely amazing. And all the hell that he's been put through, and he hasn't gotten a wink of sleep since this started, guys.
Yeah.
I feel even way back before that. He's been prepping for this his entire life. This is a divine being with immense brilliance and tact, and is just moving with absolute brilliant and acute precision in every now moment. And when this is all said and done, you know, we're just going to have to, you know, give him the absolute biggest thank you we can. But he's going to have to go along his way and live out the rest of his soul contract, you know, whatever that may be.
Yeah, that's
So it's going to be up to us. You know, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And it's about time that the time is now that we stand up and start creating our future. You know, Donald Trump will help us get there. That is for damn sure. That is for certain. But after the fact.
4 years.
Yeah.
Definitely what he deserves. He really deserves the world's respect. You know,
he does.
He's been vilified, and the love, the intensity that I feel for him, and you know, I couldn't care less what anyone says, because when you truly understand what he has done for humanity, it's on another level. And you know, it's insane. I mean, I can't wait to see how this Julian Assange story plays out, because you know, that's what's coming out now, that you know, he's going to be pardoned as well. So
yeah, he will be.
Yeah,
he will be. It's going to play similar to the Flynn, how it was just thrown out there and then taken back and happened. So it'll definitely happen. He's had a role to play, and his role is still ongoing. So it's definitely going to happen. It just hasn't officially come out on at Real Donald Trump yet. Right. But there's some people that are even saying to me now that he's already been pardoned, and that you know, the pardon is just, you know, catching everyone else up to speed in the current now moment, and that he's actually been secretly working behind the scenes at the White House. Now, I don't know, you know, any validity to that whatsoever. You know, I ask people don't run with that initially, because, you know, we don't know that. But the way this movie has played out from a back cover to a front cover, anything is possible at this point. And the twists and turns are, you know, anything is possible with those as well. So we have to just keep that in mind. Keep an open heart and an open mind. And also keep in your heart and your mind as well too, guys, that it's already been done. It's just we're catching up. Everyone's catching up and getting up to par on all this.
Yeah, nicely.
And with along the lines of Assange, I mean, of course he'd have to be pardoned, because I mean, he's not going to leave his uncle hanging out to dry. So when you look at Assange and you look at John Trump when he was younger, same person.
Yeah, I put this on
now,
his Facebook page yesterday.
Yeah.
Should be pardoning in my time traveling uncle.
Yeah, I saw that. It was great.
I think that's a great subject to talk about next. I mean, about
definitely.
Yeah.
Project Looking Glass is something I really want to like get my head around. A lot of the stuff that we've spoken today, I mean, I've heard so much of it, but I've just got another kind of like understanding of everything. And just Mark, brilliant. Greg, you've been brilliant. Jason, your mind is beautiful. But it's all of us. And that's the thing. Everybody's energy. It's just, I liken it to a secretary. It's like all their energies and all that, all their knowledge, everything just goes in the big collective. And it's like, you tap into it. It's like, okay, well, they want one copy of, you know, archive everything offline. It's like, I'll be the secretary, and just start going off. And it's just like, everybody else is doing the work, and we're just like coming along. It's like, we're right along with you guys. It's like, remember, I mean, to get to those guys, you have to go through the secretary. So good luck with that. You know, it's like when you ask for sauce, it's like,
Jason, you are the blockchain.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to be. I just want to be Jason. That's it.
Of the truth.
No, I do not. I'm not looking for any legendary. I just want to be an equal. That's all. I just want to be right alongside with everybody else, and all of us just go right ahead. Because as soon as one person steps forward a little bit, it's like, here we go. You know, then they spin around. It's like, it's like, no, just.
Well, I've been saying this all year, that everybody has their own abilities and their own part to play, and it's wonderful. It's like, you know, the Avengers. You know, everybody's good at something. The Avengers, because I actually made a note earlier when you were talking about Adam. I can't remember how you said it.
The adamantine Morris.
Yeah, that immediately made me think of Marvel and adamantium.
Oh yeah.
Marvel's got
They do. They really do.
Wow.
There's a lot of hidden stuff in Marvel movies.
Stanley knew what he was doing. He was inside it.
So
that's the whole episode.
I think we've been going for 2 hours, and I think we can go for another 7.
We haven't even started.
I know we haven't
Yeah,
even started.
just getting
So
warmed up.
This
Wait till next week. Woo.
next week, I think
22nd?
the
Level
22nd. That's amazing. You
I
know,
know.
Day before
honestly
pain day.
felt instinctively, I had no thought. This was supposed to happen on Friday. I spoke to Greg. Greg and I were supposed to do our chat on Monday, Sunday or Monday, Greg.
It was Sunday.
Sunday. And then
Sunday.
I said, let's do it on Monday. And then I said, no, listen, come on to this one with me today. And then I'm speaking to Mark, and then like you're coming on with me on the live. And I just love this synergy, because this is how it was like meant to be. Because a lot of the stuff that you have spoken about, I'll be honest, it's just so beyond like my depth. And Mark, you know so much, and Greg, you do too. So collectively and in unity, you know, it's worked really, really well, and I'm really chuffed. So Truth Tuesdays.
Yes.
We're going to try, and I'll try and get the live sorted by then. But I think it's actually worked out well, because if we had the live right now, there's so much information on today's show. You know, writing the explanation is going to have to go and look back. Like what we've touched on so many things, but Project Looking Glass is something that is that fascinates me, and I'd love to know more.
You probably invented it.
Well, I really started looking at Ivanka, and there's something that I just shared on my Facebook, and it was called Project Looking Glass, and how everything's happened in different dimensions, different times, and you know, just the sort of synchronicities of what she's wearing and the symbolism, and how everything is connected to different timelines. And it was quite a lot for me to get my head around. I mean, I've only woken up this year. It's just information overload. Yeah, you guys have been doing a lot of stuff for a long time, and this information, it's like, okay, we're just dealing with the virus, and then we're dealing with the Illuminati, the Cabal, and then everything that's been happening for years. I mean, these 9 months have been a hell of a journey. Really quickly. So, guys, I could, like I said, could go on, but let's leave it on this one. Next Tuesday, be it a live or be it just a recorded show. Jason, you've been amazing. You're beautiful soul, a beautiful mind. I love you, Greg. I love you, Mark. You know, you're like my sort of digital warriors, my brothers from another mothers. You know, it's just I'm so grateful. This is my favorite show today. I've had fun. It's been really enjoyable. So thank you.
Yeah,
thank you so much. Thanks for
amazing. The energy just flowed. Great.
Always. Until next time. There we go.